Broncos guru. No tie downs, no belly strap. Cruising along at a faster pace than I should.
I mean, it's not uncommon for us to see boaters out there on the water doing things that when we look at it, we just know they probably shouldn't be doing. Now, sometimes these things are a little easier to explain than others. Like when we see the action happen, we know exactly what went down. A lot of times it's a pretty easy explanation, but then when we see something like this where we kind of miss the action, it can become a little harder to determine exactly what went wrong. Today we're going to explore a little bit about that, boaters doing things out on the water they just shouldn't be doing. Welcome back, crew, to this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week.
It's still running. Yeah, he's driving out there. He's driving out. He's flat now. Thank goodness the tire's out.
Now, obviously, there are plenty of mistakes you can make out there on the water, but of course, one of the biggest mistakes a boater can make in their boating lifetime is going to be not being subscribed to this channel. That's right, if you're not subscribed to this channel, we're going to hide a bushel of bananas somewhere on your boat. Plus, one other reason to be subscribed is we do giveaways all the time. Like today, we're going to give away one of our Drain Plug Mafia tumblers. Really simple, hit the like button now, leave a comment below, and we're going to pick a random comment, and somebody's going to win a tumbler. Now, as we mentioned earlier, some mistakes will be obvious, others not so much. Kind of like this crew here. One thing's for sure, if you're getting out there on the water, you always need to check that weather before you go. Now, a lot of actions you'll do in boating will be all about timing. And sometimes on the boat, you won't see things are going wrong, even though somebody from shore may have seen that your timing's off. So if you hear somebody from shore yelling at you, try and pay attention to what they're saying because they're probably just trying to help you out. We actually experience this one all the time. We have another YouTube channel called the Miami Boat Ramps channel that focuses on all the hilarity that happens at the boat ramps down in South Florida. Our camera guys all the time are yelling at people to go ahead and trim their motors up or put drain plugs in or do various things around the dock. But for whatever reason, every time they yell this stuff to people, nobody pays attention to what they're saying. Now, I'm not sure if it's because as boaters, we just don't want to listen to anybody else or we think we know it all and we've got it under control, but the reality is as a boater, sometimes we're too close to the situation. And the further we are back away from the situation, the more likely it is we might see more dangers. Kind of like the situation we just watched here. Who didn't know this was going to go wrong right from the start? Now, of course, us saying things were going to go wrong here really was just a guess, but if you ever have a captain telling you to step on a boat and you can just look at the situation and things look bad, just trust your gut and don't go. If things don't look right, they probably aren't, and that means you should avoid the situation. Now, a captain's always in charge on the boat, but I'm still the first to admit, if you're out on somebody's boat and that captain is doing things that you're just not comfortable with, or you see him doing things that you know are just wrong, don't hesitate to ask that captain if you can disembark that vessel. There's no reason to be out there on a boat with a captain who's doing silly things that's going to wind up putting you or others in jeopardy. And one of the biggest mistakes we'll see these kinds of captains make is going to be trying to take shortcuts. They're going to try and cut corners and find ways to make that day out on the water just a little bit shorter, like possibly deciding they're going to try and go through Boynton Inlet versus going to one of the unobstructed inlets. Which, as you can see, can cause its own set of headaches if you decide you're going to try and take some shortcuts versus going to an inlet that you know your vessel can make it through. Now, not all the time will you be out there on the boat with the captain who you've got to be cautious of. Sometimes you'll be out on your own vessel and you've got to be on the lookout for those googing captains who are out there on the water not looking out for you. Don't get me wrong, everybody's responsible for their boat and their wake and the actions that it causes, but you still got to pay attention to try and not get yourself into a situation that's going to get you into trouble. Because if you just rely on the other captains out there on the water, well, things are not always going to go your way, and sometimes they're going to go really wrong really fast. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Jessica Newham, TT Sebastian, Cameron Diedrich, and Ethan Broussard did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.